Even with the film industry in something of a perilous, unpredictable place, the horror genre continues to go from strength to strength, having enjoyed something of a resurgence at the box office in recent years, even as other genres struggle to bring the audience in. This, combined with the sheer high caliber of horror fare being produced by A24 and Neon in particular, makes it hardly surprising that so many actors are now getting involved with the genre despite previously seeming to avoid it. Horror can, of course, be so much more than mere jump scares and gore shots. It can provide a surreal, heightened canvas for actors to dig deep into their characters and truly swing for the fences. The following actors are all better known for their work in the comedy and drama genres, and yet over the next year are set to cross into the realm of horror. I'm Ellie for What Culture, and here are 10 actors starring in horror movies in 2025. Number 10, Paul Rudd, Death of a Unicorn and Anaconda. Though Paul Rudd began his career with the infamous horror sequel Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, he's largely steered clear of the genre for the last 3 decades. But that's all set to change this year, as the Marvel funny man will appear in not just 1 but 2 horror projects. First up, Rudd will star opposite veritable scream queen Jenna Ortega in A24's Death of a Unicorn, a black comedy in which a man and his daughter accidentally hit a unicorn with their car, causing all hell to break loose. And at year's end, Rudd will co-star with Jack Black in a reboot of the Anaconda franchise, which per its stars will unsurprisingly be taking a more comedic approach to the creature feature IP, albeit with an apparently grisly R-rated bent. Given that Rudd has been on the 4-quadrant tentpole conveyor belt for a while now, it sure will be nice to see him doing something totally different. Death of a Unicorn releases on March 28th, and Anaconda is set to bow on December 25th. Number 9, Ayo Edebiri, Opus. Ayo Edebiri has enjoyed a meteoric rise to fame per her Emmy-winning performance as Sydney on drama series The Bear. And outside of this, her filmography is mostly populated with comedy roles. But Edebiri will soon star in her first horror vehicle as she leads the new film Opus, playing Ariel Ecton, a journalist who is invited to the remote compound of a legendary pop star, Alfred Moretti, who vanished 3 decades prior. Soon enough, Ariel comes to realize that Moretti has secretly amassed a literal cult of celebrity at his fortress, and it appears that he wants to make Ariel his newest acolyte. The trailer makes this look like a riot in the vein of a Jordan Peele movie, and while reviews out of Sundance have been firmly mixed, to say the least, Edebiri has received consistent praise for delivering a performance that rings both comedy and horror from the fraught central scenario, and Opus releases on March 14th. Number 8, Al Pacino, The Ritual. Al Pacino isn't an actor most would associate with the horror genre, with his sole major foray being his unforgettable performance as Satan in 1997's The Devil's Advocate. But later this year, the acting legend will star alongside Dan Stevens in this based on a true story exorcism flick, the duo portraying a pair of priests who attempt to help a demonically possessed young woman. Stevens will play the younger priest who questions his faith, while Pacino portrays a grizzled veteran clergyman with a troubled past. While it remains to be seen whether writer-director David Middell can do something fresh with the played-out exorcism movie, and honestly the ultra-generic title is a tad worrying, it should at least be fun to see an actor of Pacino's caliber playing around in this genre sandbox, especially while working opposite the great Dan Stevens. And The Ritual releases on April 18th. Number 7, Alison, Brie and Dave Franco, Together. Hollywood power couple Alison Brie and Dave Franco have spent most of their careers starring in comedy and drama films. But this year the duo will co-star in Together, a wild body horror romp that's earned rave reviews since its recent Sundance premiere. Brie and Franco play Millie and Tim, a stuck-in-a-rut couple whose move to the countryside is upended when a supernatural force causes them to start suddenly fusing together. Many early critics critics have compared together to recent squicky genre hit The Substance, while praising the palpable chemistry between Brie and Franco, which, given their real-life relationship status, should hardly be a surprise to anyone. From what we've heard so far, it sure sounds like the film goes to some deeply nauseating places, and our two leads give themselves over entirely to that unhinged vision, whatever it actually turns out to be, and together releases on August 1st. Number 6. Michael B. Jordan, Sinners. Michael B. Jordan has an intensity that makes him a perfect fit for a searing horror flick, and yet to date he hasn't got a single major acting credit in the genre. But that all changes imminently, as Jordan will star in his regular collaborator Ryan Coogler's new period supernatural horror romp, Sinners. Though the marketing is playing things intriguingly coy, it's not much of a secret that Sinner is a vampire film. Yet perhaps most enticingly of all, Jordan will be pulling double duty playing a pair of twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, who return to their hometown to find it overrun by an evil presence. The trailer does a fantastic job of teeing up the film's 1930s Southern Gothic stylings. And let's be honest, who can resist the image of Jordan pumping a Tommy gun at an unseen target in slow-mo? Don't be surprised if this ends up being one of the best horror films of the year, because the Jordan-Coogler combo hasn't steered us wrong yet. Sinners releases on April 18th. Number 5. Jodie Comer, 28 Years Later. Jodie Comer is one of the most consistently impressive actors of her generation, and it really seemed like a mere matter of time before she landed herself a juicy horror role. Though Comer lent her voice to last year's horror video game, Alone in the Dark, she'll get her proper cinematic horror debut later this year when she plays the female lead in 28 Years Later, the long-awaited third entry into Danny Boyle's British post-apocalyptic horror franchise. Comer will portray Isla, a pregnant woman fighting to survive alongside her husband and son as the rage-infected encroach upon their homestead in Northumberland. The film's first trailer provides only a few fleeting glimpses of Comer, while focusing largely on vibes rather than concrete story or character beats. But given Comer's immense talent, she's sure to be a snug fit for this sort of intense, visceral genre filmmaking. 28 Years Later releases on June 20th. Number 4. Marlon Wayans, Him. While Marlon Wayans is certainly no stranger to the horror realm, his experience in the genre is exclusively limited to horror comedies, namely the Scary Movie and the Haunted House franchises, and more recently the Netflix romp The Curse of Bridge Hollow. But Wayans, a decidedly more talented actor than his filmography might otherwise suggest, will star in the new Jordan Peele-produced sports horror film Him, where he plays an aging star quarterback who invites a rising young prospect to his remote compound to train. This certainly sounds like a perfect fit for Peele's wheelhouse, and the script landed itself on the blacklist of best unproduced screenplays in 2022. Wayans hasn't had nearly enough parts to flex his dramatic muscles over the years, but as Requiem for a Dream proved a whole quarter-century ago, he's certainly got the goods when the material is right. Above all else, it should be a treat to see him working in a more serious-minded mode once again. Him releases on September 19th. Number 3. Rachel McAdams, Send Help. Rachel McAdams is of course best known for the many comedies and romance movies which helped launch her career, and over the last decade or so she's pivoted successfully into more dramatic fare, even landing a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination in 2016 for her performance in Spotlight. McAdams doesn't have any outright horror films to her name. At most, she appeared in the horror-adjacent likes of Red Eye, Passion, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But the actress recently began shooting her first ever full-throated horror film, re-teaming with genre legend Sam Raimi for Send Help. McAdams will star alongside Dylan O'Brien as two work colleagues who are the sole survivors of a plane crash which leaves them stranded on an island. Now, details beyond this are firmly under wraps, though it's been enticingly compared to both Misery and Castaway. Whatever happens, it'll be great to see McAdams immersing herself fully in the horror genre for the first time. Number 2. Tatiana Maslany, The Monkey. Longlegs director Osgood Perkins' new comedy horror, The Monkey, looks like an absolute blast. And while it won't be the first foray into horror for star Theo James, it does mark a new frontier for its female lead, the brilliant Tatiana Maslany. Though Maslany appeared in a number of horror films much earlier in her career, the likes of Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed, Stir of Echoes, The Homecoming, The Messengers, and Diary of the Dead, she's largely steered clear pioneer of the genre since blowing up in sci-fi thriller series Orphan Black. But the actress will play a prominent part in The Monkey, appearing in flashbacks as twins Hal and Bill's mother, Lois, who, going from what fresh hell we've seen in the trailers, seems to die a horrible death while bleeding from her eyes. Well, it evidently turned out to be a positive experience for the actress, as she's already shot another horror film with Perkins, Keeper, which is also due out by year's end. And The Monkey was just released on February 21st. Number 1, The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. And in the spirit of saving the biggest surprise for last, ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd. Fresh off his critically panned turn in HBO series The Idol, the singer-songwriter seeks out greener pastures in this new horror thriller from the tremendously talented Trey Edward Schultz. The absolutely wild debut trailer doesn't offer much concrete plot information, but the film apparently revolves around an insomniac musician, The Weeknd playing a version of himself, who encounters a stranger who leads him on a life-changing odyssey. The trailer is certainly jam-packed with plenty of anxious, dread-inducing imagery, and while the jury's still out on The Weeknd's acting chops, if any director can tease a great performance out of him, it's probably someone as assured as Schultz. And better still, sharing the screen with the likes of Jenna Ortega and Barry Keoghan sure won't hurt either. Hurry Up Tomorrow releases on May 16th.